Wake up, pre-health sharks. We are back for our monthly webinar, Wake Up Pre-Health Sharks, where we cover a variety of pre-health topics to assist you in your career and your future goals. As always, we have a panel of experts here to discuss different topics. My name is Emilio Lorenzo. I am the Associate Director of Employer Relations, and I'm going to let our other experts introduce themselves.
All right, my name is Gabby and I'm a career advisor within the Office of Career Development.
And hello everybody, my name is Danny. I'm also a career advisor in career development, and we hope you've been missing us since the last month you saw us.
So today we're going to be talking about informational interviews. I like to call them the secret weapon of your career, and a great way to get your foot in the door. We've had other sessions talking about research, talking about the 5 pillars, talking about internship shadowing. And informational interviews is actually a great tool set to get your foot in the door in a variety of these avenues. So we're going to be talking about that, giving you resources and talking about how to conduct these informational interviews. And I think best starting off point in explaining what is an informational interview. So I'll turn it over to Gabby and she can give us her insights on this.
Thanks, Emilio. So like Emilio said, informational interviewing really is so important during your undergraduate career. And what it is a meeting between you and a professional, which involves a conversation about their career and their journey to get to where they are. So it's basically what's in the name. It's an interview to learn more information, is what I like to say to students. And it allows you to really explore your field a little bit more, gaining more knowledge on individuals in that field, and building your professional network. Because like we've said, I think in past Wake Up Pre-Health Shark webinars, that it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know a lot of the time. And this is really important when it comes to informational interviewing.
Perfect. So yeah, what Gabby says is really important. Being able to talk to individuals and learn about industries, I think what better way to learn about an industry or how to get there by speaking with individuals that have gone through your same journey, that have experienced what you've experienced. And I also think by doing information interviews and doing multiple of them, you're going to realize that there's not just one road to your goals, there's a variety of roads. And some of those same concerns, or, we, with our own careers, sometimes we give ourselves anxiety. We're like, well, everyone else is doing so much and I'm behind, or, I don't think I'm putting myself in a position for success. I think when you speak to other individuals and you ask them, hey, what were you doing during this time to get yourself ready for these goals? You're going to start seeing a little bit of yourself in them. You're going to be able to identify things that you weren't thinking were putting you in a position of success that are, or how that you should be doing. And so there's a variety of kind of benefits of doing these type of informational interviews.
I agree with that, Emilio, for sure. So going into some types of informational interviewing, I know Danny's going to go into more like how you even, connect with people, what you would say. But in terms of the types and how you can conduct informational interviews, the first and most popular, of course, is in person. But we are in the middle of a pandemic, so we do want to address that, and we want to try to minimize kind of that in-person contact. So over the phone is also an awesome way to conduct an informational interview. Over email as well. Definitely not as popular because I feel like it's not as, I guess you can't connect with the individual as much over email, I would say, as over the phone or in person, but definitely still an option. Over Zoom, I know all of us on here have learned Zoom very well during this time, and I think students have as well, so you can definitely conduct over Zoom. It's basically like being in person. Over LinkedIn, definitely, LinkedIn's a great way in the messenger box, or, chatting with someone there. Social media, and of course, if appropriate, because I know social media sometimes, really isn't an appropriate way to connect with people, but I know like Twitter is a big one that a lot of, I would say, organizations use, professionals use, maybe staying away from like more of like the Snapchat or TikTok type of social media platforms. But I would say like Twitter, Facebook are ones that definitely can be used for information interviewing.
Oh yeah, and I want to add definitely to what Gabby was saying, there are those professional groups on Facebook and Twitter as well. So utilizing some of those are definitely appropriate because you'll find people within the same industry. So great point there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's go to the next slide.
All right, so now we just want to start touching on really how to connect with individuals to conduct informational interviews. The first thing I want to say is, and actually this is not a bullet, I'm just now realizing, but thinking about who is in your personal life, first and foremost, like who is in your personal life that is maybe in a career that you're interested in. This could be an aunt and uncle, mom, cousin's boyfriend, really anyone in your personal life. I would start there for sure. But then I would think of people in your personal life who can introduce you to their own connections. So maybe it's, you know, mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin that has a mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin that they know that they can connect you with. So it could be, you know, like I said, family friend, neighbor, supervisor, professor, anyone in their network as well. So it's basically you're touching first on your personal network, but then you're touching on their personal network or professional network as well. So thinking of just all the people in your life that are in your really immediate life. Also connecting with NSU faculty and staff, so connecting with any of us as career advisors, your academic advisors. Same thing with faculty. Faculty know a ton of people at the institution as well as in their, you know, personal professional lives. And if there's anyone I missed too that works at NSU, just anyone at NSU that you have a connection with can potentially help you to find someone. Also, like we were saying, research professionals on LinkedIn and through any professional associations or websites that you might be aware of, or meeting with your career advisor to talk about, you know, what kind of professional associations or websites that you can use to find people to interview. But yeah, anything else you guys want to add to that is who we can connect with?
I think you mentioned some great points, Gabby. I think something we haven't mentioned just yet is remove the fear factor. You know, the worst thing that can happen is someone telling you that they don't have time for you or they can't meet with you right away. But I think it's important to know that, you know, in this social media age, digital age, by you reaching out to this person, either over the phone or through LinkedIn, you're putting yourself out there. And in today's world, a lot of people don't put themselves out there. They want to stay in their comfort zone. So just know that you reaching out to these professionals is something that they're not accustomed to. And you being able to talk about your passion, and we're going to talk about how to outreach to them and what you can include, but talk about your passion. At one point or another, this person was in your shoes. They wanted to be a doctor. They wanted to be a professional in their field, and they needed somebody to give them advice, guidance, or just share their own insights. I think you being able to approach this and know, hey, you're just trying to gather information. You don't need a job. You don't need anything from them. You just want to know and seek knowledge. People love talking about themselves, and people love talking about their careers, especially if they're passionate about it. And you're just feeding into that. So don't be so nervous. It's good to leave your comfort zone. You're going to grow professionally, and you're going to grow in your knowledge base about the industry.
Definitely. And one thing I wanted to add too is another place to find these informational interviews that I've learned even specifically during this time is, you know, all these webinars or online conferences that we're attending too. If there's someone who led a presentation that really impacted you or touched you, you can have, you know, a good reason to reach out to that person afterwards and tell them about, you know, what you learned and what that presentation meant to you. And that could also lead itself to one of those informational interviews. So I've seen those work really well for some of my students with like pre-health day or pre-health week in the past, and they've ended up getting a shadowing opportunity from one of those informational interviews with a PA or doctor.
That's a great idea, Danny. Yeah, going to events either virtually or in person, you can meet so many different people. So thanks for that. You're
Definitely.
so right.
All right, so now we'll go to how to ask for an informational interview. So like Gabby was saying, there's a lot of different places to go and spot out the different professionals you might be interested in. They may be in a career that you know you want to work in that specific specialty. So now it's time to figure out how to reach out to them. So like Gabby was saying, there's opportunities to reach out over the phone, over email. Sometimes what I like to do or recommend for my students is reach out first over email or LinkedIn and just introduce yourself with that basic who you are, what it is that you're looking for, and a little bit about why you're contacting them, and then lead it into a conversation over Zoom or over the phone later. That way they know who you are first. They kind of vetted you a little bit looking at your profile, and then you can start that conversation. So like it says here on the slide, think about somebody in a career that you're intrigued about, because this gives you an opportunity to ask all your questions and learn a little bit more about, you know, how did they get to where they are? Maybe if there's opportunities to shadow or do research with them, you can really gain a lot. And you yourself are giving them a mentoring opportunity, which they appreciate themselves. like Amelia was saying, a lot of people love talking about themselves and their career, and mentoring and feeling like they're really giving back to that community of pre-health students coming along their path too. So some key points to take away and like what to ask or how to approach these people is thinking about that brief introduction, why you're contacting them, a brief statement of your interests and experiences in their career, and why you would like to meet with them. So you want to really personalize this invite when you message them. So if you see, let's say they graduated from NSU, you know, go ahead and mention that, like, oh, I saw that you're a fellow Shark and I wanted to reach out, because that itself gives you a good connection with that person, and they're more likely to reach back out to you too. So this next slide, I'll go into an example of a message you can mess around with the template to outreach to someone else.
I was gonna say, Danny, yes, alumni. I feel like that should have been on the past slide too. Alumni is huge, and connecting with them. I feel like they're more open to meeting with students that, you know, go to the same or have the same alma mater as them.
I completely agree.
Yeah, definitely. Like the PA student I was mentioning earlier as an example, the PA that they ended up shadowing later was from pre-health day and graduated from NSU's PA program. So they really do want to give back to the NSU students and know what, you know, adventure they're going through in that moment.
Yes.
All right, so here's like a sample message that you can go about figuring out to personalize to that individual that you're reaching out to. So I'll read it out loud just to give an idea of what it might look like. So for example, hello, Mr. Smith. How are you? My name is Danny, and I'm currently a student at Nova Southeastern University majoring in biology. After researching the optometry field, I felt I could gain more information by talking to an experienced professional. I found your contact info, maybe like from pre-health day, as you led a session that I was very interested in, and think you'd be an awesome individual to speak to. Would it be possible to set up a time for me to conduct an informational interview with you? If so, we can set up a time, date that works best. Look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you and have a great day. So as you could see from this, you're really trying to connect with that professional and also offer your own flexibility to their schedule, because you're mentioning in this message that you understand, you know, you need to be flexible to their schedule. You understand they're a busy professional, and trust me, these health professionals, they really like when you have that understanding and flexibility to them, and they'll respond the same way back to you. So having a template similar to this, with you personalizing with your own little bits of information or ways you connect with them, is going to be key.
Yeah, I agree, Danny. I think the language is so important, because the way you're putting it in there, it's so positive, it's energetic, but it's also flexible, because, you know, if this professional can't meet with you for a month or two, you've put it out there like, I want to meet at your availability and when you're available. And there's no agenda. Like, I don't need a volunteer. I don't need a shadowing. I just want to learn from you. I think it's very important. And the most strategic way of getting a yes from people is having this open language, positive language included in that initial outreach.
Exactly. All right, and then we'll go into something interesting called the gatekeepers for informational interviewing. So not many people think about this, but when they are calling, let's say a doctor's or PA's office, that they want to speak to that professional directly to them, there's usually a gatekeeper, but before you're able to actually speak to that professional themselves. And that's usually, let's say, like a medical assistant or a front desk receptionist, who is the person who you know, filters through, or is the firewall that acts between you and that professional. So it's good to keep in mind some 4 Ps if you do end up contacting the gatekeeper when you make that phone call to reach out to a physician. So 1 is going to be prepared. You really want to prepare yourself and know that that is a possibility, that when you call this office, you probably will be speaking to that receptionist, and you want to have your message prepared as much as possible. There's also professional. So like that message we talked about earlier, you really want to come across with that positive and professional personality, knowing already what it is that you want to be contacting them for, having your personal information ready and contact info, and you want to just be all in all prepared and calm when speaking to this person. You also want polite, because believe it or not, this person is also going to be the one who decides if your information gets passed along to that healthcare professional. So you really want to be as, again, understanding as flexible as possible, and ask them how their day is going. You want to really appreciate them for taking that call, taking down your information, because that's how you can guarantee that your information gets passed along, so you can have one of those mentors in your toolbox. And lastly is that pitch. So having that pitch, maybe even writing it down if you plan on calling this office, just so you have a pitch prepared and ready, and you know what you want to say, because it can be a little nerve-wracking, especially the first few times you call these offices, and and maybe stumble or they give you a response you weren't expecting, having a pitch ready can make you feel like, you know, you are that prepared, professional, and polite student that you want to be when you call these places. So they're going to ask you a little bit about yourself and what you're wanting from the professional. So make sure that you leave your name, that reason for calling, and either the best number or even email to reach you at. That way they know that there's going to be a way for that professional to get back to you, and that's what's going to lead to that informational interview. And you can use that messaging guide, like we mentioned in that previous slide, just as an example for how you can reach out to these professionals directly, or maybe they end up reaching back out to you. You can use that guide, and it's going to give you a good example of remaining that professional pitch to get you that informational interview that you're looking for.
You know, I think everything you mentioned, Danny, is some really good points. And I love that the 4 Ps, that's really like the bedrock and foundations of how you should be approaching. Mm-hmm. Just have tough skin. You're going to have some people that tell you no, or they give you an answer and you don't get a follow-up right away. Stay professional, stay calm, stay positive, follow up. When you're talking to front desk people, just be polite as possible, even if they're frustrated. Remember, working at a front desk at a doctor's office can be very stressful. So coming off a little bit, you know, direct, don't take that the wrong way. They just probably have a lot going on. And you inquiring about a shadowing or an informational interview may not be on the highest priority list. Let them know, we understand the doctor's very busy, or whoever you're trying to contact is very busy. What would be the best way of getting this information to them? And so they'll have an answer for you there, and then you could follow up appropriately afterwards.
I want to add in that it's funny that this whole slide, I was even thinking how this generation really doesn't love to talk on the phone. I don't know if you guys agree with that, or
yeah,
call even
absolutely.
doctor's offices. Like even myself, I get nervous calling a doctor's office or a dentist's office to make an appointment. So that's why it's so important to be professional and polite, you know what I mean, when you are casual, because you really never know how their day is going, if they're having a bad day, if they're having a good day. It really just depends. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more at the end about our services, but letting students know, and whoever's, you know, listening to this, that you're more than welcome to call these individuals in our offices. You know, I've had a ton of students call people with me in front of them. That way I can kind of coach them and cheer them on, because sometimes it is nerve-wracking to do on your own.
Absolutely. So now it gets into, what do you do during an informational interview? So we've talked a little bit about how to obtain it, how to prepare on the back end. What does an informational interview entail? Some things that you definitely want to do is come professionally dressed. Yes, this is not an interview. However, an informational interview can lead to a whole lot of other things that you weren't expecting. Shadowing, volunteering, an internship, or just making an impression on someone who is working in the field. So although it's not an interview, that impression is still very important. And so treating it at a high level by coming dressed professionally is very important. Arrive early. You're gonna be talking to someone, definitely arrive 15 minutes to 30 minutes before. If they're saying, hey, the doctor's really busy, or this professional's really busy, take a seat. Just wait patiently, no complaining, just waiting on their time. When you do meet with them, make sure that you have a nice firm handshake. You're making eye contact, especially if this is in person. If it's virtually, you know, definitely using Zoom, being able to greet them, have positive body language, still dressing professionally. Make sure that you have a notepad next to yourself, or just so you can write a few notes. There's going to be a lot of insights based on the questions you ask them that we're going to be going over, that you could be gaining from this. And so you want to make sure you're taking down everything that you need to. And then taking the initiative to conduct it, have questions prepared, have things that you want to know, and be flexible. You know, you're going into the lines then. And we've talked about how this generation doesn't like being on the phone, doesn't like to be in person so much. And so imagine this doctor or professional is going to be thrown off guard. This might be the first informational interview someone does with them. And so they're going to ask you questions. They're like, well, Gabby, what brings you into my office? What got you passionate about medicine? What are you all about? You guys have a dialogue. It's not going to be just a strictly going with your questions type. That person might go into stories, examples, and ask you about your own experiences. Or you might get inside conversations on different things. That person has a picture of their dog on their table, and you guys get in a conversation about being animal lovers. And now things are going to be about the industry and also about you and yourself. I say this because that's how you build natural relationships with people. It's not just question, answer, question, answer. Be flexible, be adaptable, talk about your passions. Don't try to put up this image of who you're not. Focus on your passion and excitement for that field. That's something that can go a long way with any professional. You talk to professionals and you're excited about the field, whatever field you're in, they're going to feel that. And if they're a professional that takes pride in their job, they're going to want to ask you more questions or know about it because, again, they're going to know about your experience and want to know more about you. And we're going to talk about the questions you can ask. But going into that, I think an overarching umbrella you should think about is remember to jog this person's memory as to what was going on when they were in college or where they were in your years. It's going to help them remember the experiences, the skills, or the people that gave them mentorship and guidance to get to where they are today. And that might lead into better opportunities to ask for shadowing and other things. So what are some questions you should be asking? Definitely asking the professional about their educational background, their experiences that they had. What does a typical day in their job look like? What was their most memorable experience? What were the most difficult experiences? What is it that they find most enjoyable about their job? Things that tell them about what brought them to this career. Or asking them things like, hey, when you were a freshman in college, a junior in college, wherever, what were the experiences you were gaining that helped prepare you for where you are today? How did you leverage relationships? Imagine this person is going to be talking about things and they may be giving direct examples of what you're doing. Hey, I did an information interview with a doctor, which led to a shadowing, which led to this. Imagine that person is now remembering, wow, there were a lot of people that gave me a chance that got me to where I am today. And so that down the road at the end of this interview or even, afterwards, you inquire about a shadowing, that person's going to remember how they have to give back too. And especially in the healthcare industry, doctors, dentists, what have you, there's no one that's posting shadowing opportunities on job boards or announcing, hey, I'm a doctor, come shadow me. No, they want people that are proactive, engaging with them. And doing things like that jog that professional's memory that for this next generation of healthcare professionals, they need to be giving back, not just giving back with their patients, but giving back with individuals that are the future of that industry. And so questions like this can really help them understand or help create avenues for you to learn about new opportunities within there. Asking them about the past that led to their career success, what skills are needed in their field, what are other non-traditional or traditional experiences they should be having on their resume that helps prepare them to get in their foot in the door, whether it's to get into medical school or to find other experiences that could be very valuable.
Yeah, those are some great points, Emilio. And I wanted to say, even based off what you said in the last slide too, these questions, they may even be adapted based on like the genuine conversation you're open to having with this professional. Like you may have those side conversations. So feel free to go off the charts that you've already prepared and ask those follow-up questions there too, because it helps make that genuine relationship flow when you just go along with what the conversation is building up to be at that moment.
Absolutely. And then finally, how to wrap up an informational interview. After, I think, you writing notes for yourself is important, but after the informational interview, when you go home or you're in your car and you're relaxed, write some notes, some takeaways. What did I learn from? What did I gain from it? Because you were probably nervous there and you were taking notes on what they were saying, but letting yourself digest the message that was coming across. I think that's really important because some of those insights can be implemented right away. Also, make sure you follow up with the person that you interviewed, whether it's adding them on LinkedIn, reaching out to them via email, and just thanking them for their time, their insights, reiterating some of the points that really hit home for you. Follow up on suggestions made by the interview. I think that's what I talked about, those action steps. So if they told you, hey, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, start creating a game plan on how you could be able to do such things. If they mention certain experiences you're lacking, meeting with one of your advisors, you know, our team here can really help you figure out what are some ways I can gain these experiences. And then discussing the experience with your career advisor or other advisors, not just finding those next steps, but just reflecting. Just like in an internship, a job, a volunteer, you want some time for reflection to figure out how else can I leverage the insights I gained from this informational interview.
I want to also emphasize, Emilio, thank you for all of that, but definitely following up. I feel like if a student doesn't follow up with this professional, they might never talk to them again, truly, because this professional is super busy day to day with patients, clients, really working with. And you want to remember, it's really you have to own this process. It's your, I'm blanking on the word right now, but it's up to you to kind of continue following up with that individual and creating that relationship that can maybe even turn to something more.
Absolutely. Leveraging it, it's so important, whether that's through LinkedIn, email, a phone call, thanking them for their time, and, you know, not hesitating that down the road, if they're open to it, trying to see if this can lead into a greater experience like a shadowing or volunteership. All right, some additional resources. So we've gone over informational interviews. We've told you what it is. We've told you how to go about it, how to reach out, how to leverage relate, how to overcome those firewalls, how to prepare for them, how to make the most of experiences, and how to follow up after that experience. Here are just some additional resources that can help you out with that. So definitely going to our career development to work on your career exploration and figure out, based on what you heard, is this the right field for you? So informational interviews aren't just to gain shadowing, but it might help you explore, is this the right fit for me? You might know you want to get in healthcare, but you may not know which area of healthcare is for you. And doing informational interviews allows you to window shop without any full commitments. And so these are a great way. And then meeting with your advisor can help you reflect on those experiences and those information interviews and identify how that aligns with your values and what you wanted from your career as you were trying to think what's the best fit for you in terms of majors.
Yeah, and those are great points. And I think one thing students can keep in mind too, we
always
always have like
to walk through any of this process.
Oh, sorry, Gabby.
Sorry.
I think
It's okay. Typical Zoom. You go first, Danny.
It's the Zoom norm now. But I was going to say one thing that along with what Emilio had mentioned is that students can book appointments called interview prep, and usually that's utilized for like if you're actually going into an interview itself. But we can go ahead and walk you through some of those questions you want to ask them or practicing your pitch. Those can be things that we can work together on and really so you can feel comfortable and confident going into that conversation.
I was going to say the same thing, Danny. So we're here to help you through this process. I know it can sometimes be scary to pick up the phone or send an email or send a LinkedIn message. So we're here really to walk you through everything.
And some other things we could help you out with: resume and cover letter, grad school planning, personal statements. You know, we're here to support you, whether it's informational interviews or adding things to your experiences, getting you ready for your long-term career goals. And these webinars, our Wake Up Real Sharks, is just an additional resource to assist you with that. So today, you know, we had a great conversation on informational interviews. We hope you stay tuned next month where we tackle a new pre-health topic. But you don't have to wait to these webinars. We have an entire team that can assist you with these type of things. You want to listen to this recording? It is going to be available on our YouTube channel. So NSU Career. And again, if you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But us and our experts are here to help you out. So we hope that you enjoyed this edition of our Wake Up Real Sharks.
Thanks, everyone. See you
Bye,
next
everyone.
month.